Psychology says that if you're often the one walking behind the group on a narrow sidewalk, you might not just be polite. You may be noticing a hierarchy you never agreed to be part of. And if that image feels a little too familiar, this video is probably for you. Because some people know exactly what it feels like to become the background friend. Not the hated friend, not the unwanted friend, not even the forgotten friend exactly. Just the one who is there but somehow never centered. The one who listens to everyone else's problems, remembers birthdays, notices changes in tone, feels tension before anyone says a word, and still ends up on the outside edge of the photo, the last to hear back or the one walking half a step behind everybody else. If that's been your role, you may have started telling yourself a story. Maybe I'm not interesting enough. Maybe I'm too quiet. Maybe people only keep me around when it's convenient. Maybe I matter less than I thought. But what if that's not the full story? What if part of what's happening is psychological and misunderstood? Because sometimes the person who gets treated like they need the least is actually the person everyone assumes will be fine without anything at all. That's where this idea comes in. Perceived social sufficiency. It means people look at your calmness, your independence, and your emotional control, and mistake it as proof that you don't need active inclusion. Not because you don't need connection, but because you seem like you can handle being left out. And that perception changes everything. People may comfort the more expressive friend first, invite the more visibly insecure friend first, check on the more fragile-seeming person first, and meanwhile, you become the one everyone assumes is okay. That's one of the loneliest social experiences a person can have. Being excluded not because you seem broken, but because you seem too whole. And the painful part is that this kind of exclusion is subtle. It doesn't always look like bullying. It doesn't even look like rejection. It looks like being overlooked, being skipped in small ways, being included physically but not emotionally, being present in the group but absent from its center. That's why it hurts so much. Not because one giant betrayal happened, but because 100 tiny omissions quietly teach you that your needs can wait. So you stop asking for space. You stop expecting consideration. You start calling yourself independent when really you may have just gotten used to emotional scarcity. But here's where the story changes. Being the background friend is painful, but it can also reveal something powerful about you. Most background friends are not socially clueless. They are socially aware. They notice the room. They read faces quickly. They sense when something is off. They understand emotions other people miss. That is not weakness. That is social perception. That is emotional intelligence. Sometimes the observer is the most emotionally advanced person in the room. The one who speaks less because they see more. The one who hesitates because they're processing everything. The one who seems distant, not because they don't care, but because they care enough to notice what everyone else ignores. So if this has been your role, let this be your reminder. You do not have to become louder to become more valuable. You may simply need relationships where your quietness is not mistaken for absence, where your steadiness is not used as an excuse to leave you emotionally unfed. If you've been the one walking behind the group, that does not mean you were meant to stay in the background. It may just mean you learned how to observe before you learned how to take up space. And being an observer is not proof that you matter less. Often it's proof that you feel deeply, notice deeply, and understand people more than they realize. You were never too little. You were just too easy to overlook by people who only notice what is loud. And those people do not get to define your worth.